I will take roll call. Jeremy Bias.
Jerome.
Jerome. Why did I say that? I'm sorry, Jerome.
Present.
Matt Haley.
Present.
The four.
Hang on. All right, now we should be good.
Okay, Karen Chan.
Here.
Okay, Bonnie Whitaker
Present.
and Jeanette Baudry
Here.
and Carrie Worthy. I'm here. So we do have a quorum. I would like to welcome Bonnie Whitaker because I think this is the first time. Is that correct? Yes.
That is correct. Yes,
So
sir.
thank you for giving your time for this service. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
The Historic Resource Commission is charged with promoting, enhancing, and preserving the character of the historic district, as well as landmarks, including the Courthouse Square Historic District. The purpose of the Historic Resource Commission is to safeguard important elements of Graham's culture, history, and architectural heritage to preserve those districts and landmarks for the education, pleasure, and enrichment of residents and visitors. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we will have a moment of silence. And while we do, if we will remember Grace Baldwin, who was a member of our commission, she passed away this weekend. So we have her family in our thoughts and prayers. Okay. I will, if I could have a motion to approve the August 3, 2021 HRC meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to motion that we approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a second. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. It passes. Thank you. In our old business, we don't have a vice chair position right now. It's vacant. So we are asking commission to fill that position. And right now I will call for any nominations. You have any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Jeanette Baudry.
Okay, I have a nomination for Jet Boat. Is there any others?
I'd like to nominate Jerome.
Okay, we have a nomination for Jerome. Is there any others? Okay, I will close the nominations. We have two, Jerome and Jeanette. We don't need a motion, right? Because I'm just trying to follow the script. Sorry. Right, but threw me off there for a minute. Okay, so I guess what we will do is I will call and just raise your hand for who you want, and then I'll count. So everyone for Jeanette Baudry, please raise your hand. 3. Did you vote, Jeanette?
Can I vote for myself? I don't
You
know.
can vote
Six
for
and ask
yourself.
that. Yes, I guess.
Okay, and then for Jerome. So it's Jeanette. Congratulations, Jeanette. We appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Honor.
Next, on the agenda, we will move us to new business where we will go into quasi-judicial hearing to review certificate of appropriateness applications. We will now proceed to reviewing the certificate of appropriateness applications on the agenda tonight. The HRC is responsible for evaluating whether a COA request meets the criteria in the HRC design guidelines. It is important to note HRC decisions on COAs are considered quasi-judicial and as such must follow specific procedural rules. In order to protect individuals' due process rights, the commission agrees to be impartial decision makers, provide proper public notice, and consider only competent and material evidence based on facts, not conjecture or hearsay testimony. So we're going to do as a total group. So do any commission members have any conflict of interest, ex parte communication, or potential bias on any of the COAs tonight?
No.
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you. Tonight's meeting will follow Robert's Rules of Order. If you are here to provide evidence for a COA on tonight's agenda, I, as the chairman of the HRC, will recognize you at the appropriate time before yielding the floor. All speakers should come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Speakers should directly address the commission. I ask all speakers interested in providing testimony on COA 2107, come to the front to sign in and to be sworn in. Please come forward. This is done to ensure only facts or evidence pertaining to this item are presented to the commission. Opinion or hearsay testimony may not be entered as evidence and will not be permitted by myself so as not to violate the applicant's due process rights. I asked the staff if they will present the report on COA 2107.
Chairman, members of the commission, tonight's applicant of COA 2107 has been previously approved and is back before you this evening due to the pause of completing the work within the required 180 days. So I just wanted to mention that before I read the context. The former Trollinger Hotel at 140 East M Street, circa 1850, contributing single-story stucco brick structure that was part of the hotel built by John Trollinger in 1850. The renovated interior retains a pressed metal ceiling and a few plain Greek Revival surrounds doors. Originally, the hotel extended to the courthouse from the northeast corner of Elm and Marshall. Historian Dr. Dorward Stokes believes the hotel was 3 stories, originally named the Orange Hotel. It was subsequently renamed the Union Hotel and later the Brick Hotel. The hotel served visitors during their stay in Graham, including North Carolina's Governor Zebulon Vance during his campaign of 1876. The more modern Vestal Hotel was built in 1904. Since then, this structure has been reduced to its present size and converted to a private residence.
Okay, thank you. The applicant, if you would give your name, your address, and then you can give us any information you think that we need to know.
My name's Michael Holt, and I'm 4525 South NC Highway 62, Burlington. being said.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm a lot older than most of you people in here. My dad owned Southern Laundry and Dry Cleaning on Pine Street when I was 6 years old. The street was dirty at that time. And anyway, I swept off the front when I was 6 years old. Later, he and Mr. Wagner started rental uniform business. So we've been down here in Graham a long time. And but back in the 90s, I bought the Allstate Agency. I'd been a vice president with GKN for 15 years, and I bought the Allstate Agency over here on the corner and ended up buying the building on 128 East Elm Street. Later, I bought the 140 right beside it from the Mr. Jacobs attorney, but it's really run down. And we bought the house behind it. We've renovated that house, and my son has taken over the building on 128 East Elm. But I came before this committee on the conference call in January the 5th, and it was approved. But I didn't know it was 6 months moratorium on it. But since then, I had a golden retriever dog that died in February. My wife had a stroke in March, and I had open heart surgery in April. So I didn't get to go through with what we wanted to do, but I'd already contacted D.H. Griffin, which tore down the Twin Towers in New York, and they were going to do the work, tearing it down. But I'm back, and we want to get it done. And we want to make a parking space for my son. My son actually sold the Allstate Agency, not our building, but he sold it to take care of me and my wife during our illness. And I just got out of the Cone rehabilitation program last week, so I'm hoping I'm back on the mend. But I've already talked to D.H. Griffin, and they can go ahead and move on it if we can get it moved with you guys tonight. And I appreciate your interest. And I appreciate the conference call we had in January, Mr. Curry.
Sure.
Nice to meet some of you, except on the telephone.
Right. Thank you for your information.
And I do, one other thing I had an engineering study done on the building by Fogman Engineering Firm, and they recommended tearing it down, said it just wasn't, the structure just wasn't suitable for anybody to go through it. And since then, I've had people that's broken into it, knocked out the windows. And I think there's been some, I call them vagabonds, staying in there from time to time, okay? They've knocked the front door locks off and knocked out a few windows. And I've seen stuff in there since we were down, since I've been able to come down here. It's just somebody's been in and out of there. It shouldn't be. But it's a disgrace really for the whole thing. We want to make that area look real nice. And my son's getting ready to go through. He's already renovated inside our building one time. He's getting ready to do it again. And we want to make a parking, level that off and make a parking space.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
So anyone from the commission like to have any comments? Yes.
I did want to ask a question. In January, you said you've already been approved,
Yes, ma'am.
and there was a reason for you having to come back tonight. I didn't understand why.
I didn't know it was a 6-month moratorium and only, you had to get it done with that. I did
Within the
not know
6
that.
months.
Okay.
Okay. That's
Till I came down and talked to Mr. West the other day.
fine. Okay, that's good.
When was the last time somebody, I saw it says it's a residence. When was the last time somebody lived there?
I don't, I bought it from Attorney Jacobs.
I remember
I
that.
don't know, since we've been in that building, I've been down here since 90 in the building. And I don't recall anybody being.
I just remember it being an
My
attorney.
wife is from Graham, and she said that Gay Eulis, I don't know if any of you knew Gay, lived in that house at one time. But Mr. Jacobs was in there, I know, for 15 years,
Okay,
the
thank
attorney.
you.
So it wasn't used as a house, used as a law firm.
Does anyone down here have any questions? Okay, I don't think anyone has any questions, so we'll move to close the public hearing.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So can I have a motion from the floor to close the public hearing?
Make the motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, is there any discussion from anyone before we vote?
I know that it was approved earlier in this year, but once again, I just hate to see such an old contributor to the historic
Mhm.
I
be
agree.
torn down. It just breaks my heart. It's one more thing and one more thing that we're losing. So,
Diane?
To the commission, one thing that we will need is a detailed interior and exterior
Inventory.
photo survey of the building so we can report that to the State Historic Preservation Office as a lost resource. Mr. Holt, do you think you can get us some pictures of the inside and the outside of the building? Yeah, we need the inside as well, if you can take some pictures of the inside. Yes, sir, that'd be great. And then the previous condition that was placed on it would be that Preservation Burlington, the Graham Historic Museum, would be given up to 60 days to remove any items worthy of salvage. Both are good organizations, so we would ask that that remain a condition if approved tonight.
how soon do you think DH Griffin will be
Well, you
tearing it
can't
down?
talk to
Oh,
them.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
I'm
it's a close.
sorry.
No questions.
Just curious.
Any other discussion? Yes.
After this building is torn down, what can be built in this place?
Parking lot,
There- It says a parking
It
lot.
says a
What's it
parking
say?
lot, but at a later date, what's the options for this place?
Well, they would have to come back to us.
Yeah, any exterior change is going to require commission approval, especially when you're starting from the ground up. And there would also probably be zoning restrictions and things that we would have to do our own review on. So no matter what happens pretty much on that site, it's going to come back before the commission.
Whatever is rebuilt, if something's built in the future, it will be it has to fit within the historical context.
That
of
is
main- of
correct.
that street. I had concerns. One of the things that we celebrate about Graham is the Lancaster Square that we have. And this is one of the terminal arms of that Lancaster Square. I have concerns that we're ending that and shortening our historic district in many ways. In our guidebook, we celebrate the diversity of our historic materials. This is one of the few stucco buildings that we have in our historic district. That includes the diversity of style, D.9.3, which is the shape, style, and roof line of the building, which allows us to have when people go to build other things in the historic district, they can draw upon that. And so those are some of my concerns, ending the boundaries, losing the diversity of our building fabric that we have in our area in a historic district, and that the historic district is very small to begin with. Yes.
Thank you. Any other comments or from anyone? Do I have a motion of some sort? Someone want to give me a motion?
I make a motion to table it for now until we get the pictures from the inside and kind of get an idea of how bad the structure is on the inside.
So is that something we can do?
So interior is not within the
Yeah, that's
commission's purview. The structural integrity is
Mhm.
as a consideration.
Do we know what the structural integrity of the building is?
We have testimony that there's an engineer's statement that it's, I don't know.
I have it with me. sir.
You have the statement with you. So we could, yeah,
Do we have it in our packet? I thought we had it in our
I
packet.
don't think- I didn't see it.
Okay,
I apologize if
See
that was
it.
submitted.
okay.
How long is it, Mr. Holt?
Would you like to read it?
No, it's just one page. it looks
It's one page, yeah. Maybe I'll just read it into the record.
like. Okay,
You guys will have it. I'll go ahead and read it.
Yes, it's done in, actually by Mr. Fogman.
Yes, sir. So we have an exhibit from James R. Fogelman Engineering. This is dated October 27th of 2020 regarding the Mike Holt Building at 140 East Elm Street in Graham. On Wednesday, October 14th, I visited the above referenced building to evaluate whether or not this building could be occupied as a business. It is documented the original building was constructed around the mid-1800s. There have been periodic upfit and maintenance to the building utilizing materials available at the time of upfit or repair. The roof and floor supports are not adequate to meet current code requirements. The exterior wall finish and foundation has cracks admitting rain and moisture. The building is not handicapped accessible. The building in this current condition would not comply with current energy requirements. In my professional opinion, I believe it would not be economically practical to repair or upfit the current structure to comply with applicable design loads, energy criteria, and to make it handicap accessible as required by the North Carolina State Building Code. Sincerely, James Fogelman, professional engineer, and it is sealed. So just a couple of things to note about what Mr. Fogelman has stated. Cost is not a consideration for the commission, but his testimony regarding the condition of the building, of course, is admissible as evidence. It would have been better had he been here to cross-examine him so that you could ask him more questions. But with that said, you're welcome to make a decision however you wish based on what you've got before you.
okay. Is there any other discussion or?
One comment I might have is that the description said that the building did not meet current code. And didn't meet current code and does not meet handicap accessibility and does not meet energy efficiency. Didn't say it was falling down. Most historic buildings do not meet current code.
Any comments? Any other comments?
Well, I agree with what he said. I mean, like he said, most historical buildings do not meet code for today's standards. But it didn't say that it was full of asbestos. It didn't say, you know, that it was dangerous to enter the structure, that it was not structurally sound. Just talked about the amount that it would cost to bring it up to code.
Right.
So I'm just piggybacking off of what Jerome said.
Okay, any other discussion?
I have a question. Is it practical that unless it's decapitated or not structurally sound, if it's not structurally sound, then okay, we have a point there. But if a person owns the building, I know we're trying to preserve the historical district,
Right,
but at the same token, if it's monies involved to get it back up to the structural code and to be safe, and he's trying to prevent people from a lot of gagging and sleeping in the building could cause danger to people that are shopping in downtown.
Right.
Also could cause all type of unhealthy normal practices. Some person sleeping there with not proper hygiene. I mean, it could be a numerous of things. There's drugs and all kinds of things that could come to a scene like that. And by him saying he wants to tear it down to make the city safer. I like that. I don't know that if we lose this building as opposed to some of the others I've read that we have had a demolition on and they did it just for practices and gonna make a difference. Parking is needed downtown. I see that as a very good plus. So there's some pros and cons. I think we need to really consider his application as the owner of the property.
May I say something?
I'm sorry, sir, you can't because we have closed the public part of the meeting. So we can only discuss it here and not have any input from the public. I apologize.
So
Any other discussion
I'm
or
just gonna,
comments?
I'm just gonna echo the safety concerns that she cited and that he talked about too. I think that's I think that's a big consideration when we're looking at preserving something that may not be updated in any of our lifetime and to have that safety issue that's very close to our downtown.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there any cost to the city with regard to the structure as it is now, either for upkeep or for security measure costs to evict the people who don't live there and shouldn't be there to begin with to still have them come out? So whatever incidental costs would be incurred with the current city services that are available to maintain the safety and the visual effect of downtown. So that, to me, that's an impingement on what resources we have here
Okay.
currently.
Yes, Jeanette.
I just want to say, if the building were restored and someone were to, a business, a home, whatever, preferably a business since it's so close to downtown, there wouldn't be people breaking in, staying in this house. There wouldn't be a problem with vandalism and stuff. I have bought historic property. Yes, it costs money to restore it. I mean, my husband and I didn't, my dad pulled me aside and wanted to know if we'd lost our D mines. So, I mean, it's a lot of money to do this. So if you're going to buy historic property, it costs money. So my question is, why did it ever get into this shape? I mean, I know I'm not supposed to be talking to you, but why did it ever get into this shape to begin with? Why was it not kept up all along? So I just hate to see such an important part of our historic district disappear, because like I said, once these are gone, they're gone. So.
Thank you, Jeanette. Anyone else have any comments?
I did have another question.
Sure.
Has the property, does it mention that the property has been up for sale? Have they tried to get a new owner that could maybe come back?
No,
and
that's not.
renovate
Nope.
and get it back up to par?
Nope. That's not within our paperwork.
It's not within our paperwork, but we have the option to, do we not have the option to postpone destruction of the building until he can find a suitable buyer?
Yes, you can delay demolition. You cannot deny it, but you can delay it up to 365 days under state statute. And the idea behind that is to give the owner time to either reach out to Preservation North Carolina or to a private individual who might be interested in possibly buying and renovating as opposed to raising the building. You know, it's based on each individual circumstance.
Right.
I understand I live on Albright Street, one block down from Main Street. And I am so sorry about that. And around the block from me around the corner is a house on Marshall that was abandoned for 25 years. has had families living in it illegally, squatting, and the gas was running. And it was not safe. It wasn't pretty. And we recently had someone come by and buy it. And he's had to sink a lot of money into it. But he's also saying that this is a building that he could not have built in by modern days. Materials to build this building would not be available today. Are not available today. And he is able to restore this house into a living facility. He's been able to secure it while reconstruction is underway. It is currently safe. While this house is not in the historic district, it is a precedent for what could happen or what is possible. And I'd like to read one of the motions, part of the motion for demolition of this building, approving demolition of this building is guidance number F1.1. And I would like to point out that describes this building saying, pointing out historic buildings in the area and their value. The Lancaster plan is an important part of our district, defining characteristic of our district by removing this building, allowing this building to be removed, or at least not delaying it until a new purchaser can be bought or something of that sort. We are shrinking in many ways, shrinking the historic district in the actual historic fabric. Maintain the district, but the fabric of original buildings are shrinking. And in many ways, we are reducing the arms of the Lancaster plan, which is what our designation created, noted, and was built upon.
Okay, thank you, Jerome. Any other comments? Do I have a motion from anyone?
Table. Subject matter. Yeah, we can get like the pictures,
So we,
make a determination.
yeah,
on
the
condition.
pictures, we're not allowed to go inside the building. So any pictures that they would give us on inside, we would not be able to use for our decision-making. So all we can use is what we have before us. And that is all that we can use for our decision-making.
Yeah, if you're going to look into tabling the item, one of the reasons might be to have the engineer in person to be able to cross-examine them as a witness. In case there's questions about his statement or something of that nature. But as the chair mentioned, interior is kind of off limits. Now, structural integrity, is completely within the purview when it comes to demolition. So that's something you can look at. But that's more looking at what the condition of the exterior walls are, the roof, under the building as the foundation. Those are more structural items. So that's the kind of information you'd probably want to look at.
I'm just asking a question. So if we're not able to go inside
Right.
or to look at pictures from the
Right.
interior,
Right.
why are we requesting them?
Because for the Historic Commission, we are only responsible for the outside of the building.
And I
So,
understand
yeah.
that. Why are we requesting interior photos if we're not?
oh, no, he was saying the interior photos were, if you voted to tear the house down, we have to have a record for it to send to the Preservation Society of North Carolina. And they require us to photograph the inside and the outside, and that just goes to their record. It doesn't have anything to do with us. It goes to them for their records.
Thank you so much.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. So once again, do we have a motion? From someone?
Trying to decide which one.
I make the motion. I'd like to make a motion. I'm willing
Okay,
to.
please.
I make the motion to deny the application for COA 2107 for the property located at 140 East Elm Street as submitted because it does not meet the historic resources defined design guideline standards outline F.1.1, F.1.2, F.1.3, F.1.4. Therefore, the proposed project to raise the building is not compatible with the character of the district.
If I may, Mr. Chair, the commission does not have the ability to deny requests to demolish a building. So I apologize if it's in there as one of your choices, but
Sorry.
demolition under state law, you cannot deny.
Okay,
You may delay up to 365 days,
okay,
or you may waive the period or go with any period in between 0 and 365 days.
okay.
Sorry, denial is the only one you can do.
All right. So can you redo your motion, Jerome, please?
Sure. Sitting off, making phone go quiet. I'd like to make the motion to delay the application for COA 2107 for the property located at 104 East Elm Street as submitted because it does not meet the historic resource design standards outlined for F.1.1, F.1.1.2, F.1.3, F.1.4. Therefore, the proposed project to raise the property is not compatible with the character of the district.
Okay. Did you put, I missed, did you put 365 days? Did you put a time?
It
limit?
comes with 365 days.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to Jerome's motion?
I second.
There's a second. All right. Okay,
So it's up to 365 days. It's not automatically 365
Okay.
days. So you have to specify.
right. So because I missed hearing that, but I'm sorry. Can
Thank you
somebody,
for the clarity on that.
Yeah.
I'd like to amend that it be up to 365 days.
okay.
I agree.
Okay, so could you reread the motion, please, the staff? Is there a way to reread that so we make sure that we all are on the same page? Could you?
So what I had was that Commissioner Bias made a motion to delay the demolition of the project up to 365 days because the proposal is incongruous with standards F.1.1 through F.1.4.
Okay, thank you. Does everybody know the motion? We have a second. What I will do is ask everyone to raise your hand on ayes and noes so that we can see and count, if that's all right. So everyone in favor of the motion, say, raise your hand, please. We have 6, so all opposed. So 1 opposed, so the motion carries. Thank you. I ask that all speakers in providing testimony on COA 2110 come to the front to sign in and to be sworn in. Please come forward. This is done to ensure that all facts or evidence pertaining to this item are presented to the commission. Opinion or hearsay testimony may not be entered as evidence and will not be permitted by myself, the chairman, so as not to violate the applicant's due process rights. If you will swear them in, please. I was trying to find it myself because I can't find it. I'm sorry. At this time, I ask the staff to present their report.
For COA 2110, the building facade has been heavily altered, therefore no historical information is provided in the Historic Resource Handbook. The applicant is requesting to remove the existing metal siding on the second story, repair and refurbish the facade beneath the metal siding, and add a projecting sign with backlighting located at 118 North Main Street. That's the location of Green and McClure Furniture.
Okay, thank you. So if there's someone that would like to speak, if they will come forward, give your name, your address, please.
Griffin McClure, 622 Johnson Avenue in Graham here. First, thanks for hearing us out tonight. I appreciate that. We do have one of the oldest core buildings in the Lancaster plan downtown. We know we date in that building to 1917, but can't find too much history or specifically photographic evidence prior to that, or between the 30s and the 1970s when the first metal siding went up. I believe we are the last of two buildings in the downtown 4 blocks that have metal siding. I would very much not like to have metal siding, but I would also not want to pay for pulling it down too. So I'm asking, it's sort of an atypical application, and I'm being told it might be seen as incomplete because we don't know what's under it. This is a building that was covered with pretty much no institutional handoff between generations. And I even asked my dad before he passed, what was under there? What was your last thoughts? He didn't remember. And even when we had a pretty significant fire, the top left corner of the building, as we're looking at it now, had 10 to 15-foot flames coming out of that area. He didn't record when that siding came down. The original siding came down from the 70s, and this the siding that you see now went back up in 1993 when we had that fire. And there's not even documented photographic evidence of what it's like under there. We've tried from a snake cam from above to try to figure out what's going on, what can be done, what the plaster look like, what the windows look like. It's sealed from the inside, so we can't really see the areas of glass and windows and things of that nature. So I guess what I'm asking, or what the COA we're asking for tonight, is to remove the metal siding. We think that is a more appropriate, historically appropriate look for the building. I know there's a 6-month window to do the work. I'm planning on waiting until close to that is over and doing the work in the spring and then applying for another COA for what's underneath. But in the third part of the major COA, there's not a box checked in our application, you'll see. But that's because a site plan would just be nothing much more than the construction estimate that I got you. A colored land that we don't know what's under it, so we don't know what's to be painted, what fixtures are even there, much less how to do it in color. And then and so on. Basically, there's a fire. We don't know what state it's under. We want to take the awning down and take the metal siding down, leaving a flat front building, and then work from there. And I would be back before you for any additions, but in the hopes of taking this step by step and trying to remove one of the last 2 pieces of metal siding downtown. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. I may not have the answers.
Do I have any questions of Griffin? Yes.
So if you remove the metal and then you find out it's just, too much damage for you to repair, is there a chance that you might put the metal back up, or what would you do in that case? Or would there be another option?
I mean, I don't think that would be approved by you. So I'm willing to expose myself to that.
All right.
And that's the risk. I mean, and I guess I can talk more than just an answer, but this is not a revenue producing venture for a business. This should be a shared vanity project between a historic resource district and private business in my view.
Well, I remember the fire and taking that facade off, and didn't look that bad to me. I never really understood why your dad put it back up there. So I was hoping he would repair it back to original state then. So
Knowing,
not my call, but,
knowing my
anyway.
dad, it had something to do with insurance money.
oh, okay. That's true. Okay.
Reality creeps in.
I mean, it was beautiful. I remember all of the details and everything while that the old metal was off during the fire. So,
You know more than I do then.
well, you were a child.
I was.
Any other questions from Griffin?
I got a couple.
Okay.
I'm so excited to hear that this project and that you're grateful for your willingness to take the potential hit for what happens when you take the plastic, go behind the curtain.
Literally.
This sounds scary. My hat's off to you.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. Do you have any idea? So you're gonna pull it down? You want to cover anything else like that while it's in the in-between phase between COA 2?
I mean, obviously, I would look to planning and Cameron and Mary and Justin, those folks to help me with that process as to what, if there's an interim weatherproofing that's allowed or if needed, or what that looks like. The short answer is I don't know. I think we'll get it. There may be a minor COA that we can just weatherproof or.
So it's going to sound odd, but typically if there's exposed openings, plywood is the traditional method for covering it up until they get to it. I know it's not going to look great for a while, but
Okay.
that is the correct method used to secure a building.
So for a while, it might be a hot mess.
It very will likely be a hot mess, but we're hoping to minimize that.
Put it in progress sign on it.
We have about twice the budget we're anticipating available if needed.
The removal of the canopy, the awning. Is for permanent removal of the awning or temporary removal? of the
It's
awning?
in good shape, but the siding is behind it, so it will need to come down. I
Mhm.
like the look of some of the flat awnings, the more traditional, like in our picture on the right,
Right.
like you all have approved lately. I would like to go more that direction, but again, I don't see salvaging that awning at any, if anything, we'd put it in storage somewhere and reapply and say, this is what we're thinking about doing, but I don't see that being a part of the next step.
I'm going with what my thought process is. Historically, the historical precedent is for a flat awning to be there. I'd like to see an awning go back.
We
And I
can
just
talk
want to
about,
make sure that we weren't,
Jerome, we can't talk about that. We're just talking about the removal of the,
I just want to make sure in removing this, we weren't saying it was gone forever.
right.
That was my only concern.
Okay. We just need to talk about the removal of the material. Any other comments? So I have one particularly, I want to move to the other part of your request, and that is the sign. We don't allow backlit signs in our guidelines. I would like to suggest that you go back to the designer, and we've had another sign in our downtown where the light is on the outside and it reflects into the inside. So it looks like a backlit sign, but it is not a backlit sign.
I'm open
And
to
so,
exploring all that. This was in the original packet and I realized it wasn't a complete package. So the idea was that we assumed the picture from the 1940s was a backlit sign.
Right. And usually they were probably, but within our guidelines, we don't allow backlit signs.
Honestly, we're not open in the evenings. I think it'd be great if we could light it, figure out some way to do it, but I'm all for working with you all and what's
Okay.
appropriate.
So I love the well, can't say that, but anyway, thank you for that. That's all I have as far as comment, other than to say I'm excited about the process. Anybody else? Any comments? Do I have a motion?
Close the public.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the new, I keep forgetting this is a new thing. So I would like to call for a motion from the floor to close the public hearing
I make
for 20A2110.
I make a motion to close the public discussion for COA 2110.
There's a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And thank you for reminding me. All right, so now, is there any discussion between you all? The only thing I would say is whatever's in the motion, if we could ask to have the sign, can we ask to have a piece of it tabled? The sign? Or
You could,
or if we
you could
deny the
separate it
sign, can
out.
they come back and just redo the sign?
or even, I mean, you could have them work with staff if you trust your staff to
Okay.
approve the sign.
Okay.
Signage is usually a minor works.
That sounds good to me, but
And then we can review the lighting requirements and everything to make sure that it's conforming with both the development ordinance and the guidelines.
I just ask if anyone makes a motion, if you would consider that.
But that's another COA, isn't it?
It's the same. No,
This is
It's on the same one.
2110, that's
no,
2111.
there's two different ones,
Yeah.
two
I'm
different
saying-
buildings at the other side of the building,
Oh, okay.
and they
My
both have
fault, I'm
signs.
sorry.
So,
I can.
well, yeah, so what she's saying, so basically what I was asking to the commission to consider is that within the guidelines to say that we would ask that the sign be, go to the staff for consideration for the new design and for them to approve that and work with the applicant for a new design. Is what I'm just asking in consideration of anyone who might make a motion. Right. Yeah, so, yeah, anytime you ask me a question, you have to say it so
Okay, I'm
everybody can
sorry.
hear it, and that's my fault. I should have told you. It all has to.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all because we're in a quasi-judicial.
Actually, do I need to ask the question? Did I ask him a lot? Oh, okay, yeah, that's what it was. Just making sure that,
Right.
okay, okay.
What it does, it makes sure that no side checks going on that might influence a decision being
Absolutely.
made since it's quasi-judicial, because that would violate due process. So that's fine.
Right. Thank you.
So we're still in part of discussion, right?
We are in discussion, yes.
I'd like to just say that I'm excited about the project and I'm pleased that we have someone coming forward who's willing to work with our board as a team and a cooperative experience. And I'm pleased that our board is willing to work with them too and be amenable along with the staff. It's an impressive project for all involved.
Yep. Anyone else have any questions or comments? May I ask for a motion?
Chairman Worthy, I would like to just let the commission know for this one, I did not reference guideline numbers. So you may want to open your guidelines whenever you make your
And,
motion.
and while you're doing that, do you have an extra motion sheet? Because we can't find it up here. Sorry. Thank you. There you go.
Yeah.
Does I request a motion? Is there someone that would?
And just a reminder to do a finding of fact motion before you do your approval or denial motion.
What does that mean?
So you would move to find as a fact that it's congruous with certain design standards.
All right. Like you did with the F1. So we need in your packet, if you would give a.
So what Mary is saying, she did not, in your motions, and this did not include those guideline numbers.
Yes, they're there.
Okay.
I would say maybe B7. That, exterior walls. Maybe. Be a good one.
I say B 2.6,
2 point, okay.
B 8.5. B 8.6. Do we need to go down the whole list?
Typically, you can just reference the general guidelines. So if it's, instead of saying B 10.1, you could just say B10, and it'll include 1 through 6. That's probably the easiest way to do it.
Gotcha.
You're looking for congruity or finding things that are not incongruous with the special character of the district. So you don't have to list every single thing, but you could say, I move that we find as a fact that this application is congruous with the guidelines for building exteriors, masonry, awnings, and windows and doors, and call it good. And then I think we'll know which ones you're talking about.
Okay.
If you deny, I would be much more specific.
The,
So what has been provided,
the,
if you're at your sheet that has a table,
Okay,
where it
that's for
says
the
approve,
motions.
deny, table across the top, if you could start with a statement about the direction you're going, provide the fact finding context of congruence with the historic district. And then whenever you make the final motion of highlighting those topics that Justin was mentioning.
I'd like to make the motion
okay,
of approval of the application for COA 2007 of the property located at 118 North Main Street.
Jerome, 2110.
And
2110, yeah.
There's a typo in there. That's why I read it.
Also, you want to start.
The one we sent.
So I move we find as a fact that the,
Okay.
so and so.
Thank you very much.
We'll get there.
Well, for starters, correct address,
118 North Main Street.
118.
108.
Okay. I move as a finding of fact,
okay.
approval. Did I say approval?
Not yet.
Okay, finding of fact. The application for COA 2107, the property located
2110.
2110.
Sorry about that.
2110 North Main Street, as submitted because it does meet the design standards outlined, characterized and outlined it under masonry, buildings and doors and windows, building exterior and masonry once again. And with the stipulation that for signage,
Nope, don't do conditions yet.
okay,
I think you're mixing two motions together. So your first motion will be to find as a fact that it is in keeping with the guidelines for awnings, buildings and windows masonry, and that's it.
all right,
And then
done.
your second motion would be approve, deny. Approve with conditions.
Okay.
So we
I
would
was
make,
confused.
So I'm gonna repeat that one more time. And you guys are,
We'll help you along.
you're gonna, thank you very much. I appreciate that greatly. Yeah, I'm on the right page. 210. Thank you. 2110.
118 North Main Street.
108, 118.
118.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to approve finding of fact
Okay.
that the application for COA 2107, 2110 for the property located at 118 North Main Street is submitted because it does meet the design standards outlined for, on the right page,
18.
for masonry, building exteriors, and windows and doors.
Okay. There's a motion, so.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It passes. Thank you very much. Now we need another motion for approval.
Denial or approval of conditions of the COA.
Relative to the sign.
Relative to the sign,
Include the condition that Chairman Worthy spoke about.
I'd like to make a I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for COA 2110 for the property located at 118 North Main Street as submitted because it does meet the conditions that we listed prior. In terms of the signage, we approve it with the condition that they meet with staff because concerning lighting, lighting and design
As a minor COA.
as a minor part of the COA.
There you go. Awesome.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? It passes. Thank you very much. Really?
You gotta get that first one out of the way. You'll be next.
That's nice. Okay.
Chairman Worthy,
Yes.
the applicant for COA 2111 has previously been sworn in.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, I ask the staff to present their report.
Is everyone on the commission called up within your agenda packet that we're on COA 2111?
Number 11.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
announce that. I'm sorry, 21.
We have a request to see the agenda so that we can get a placeholder. So we're gonna just go back real.
Okay, I'm sorry, and I didn't say that. We are now presenting the report for COA 2111. It's 110 West Hardin Street, Green and McClure Furniture.
Is that official?
It's not showing on the screen.
Oh.
You gotta start the show. So, we're temporarily stuck here. Hang on once.
Okay, commission, as they're doing that, I'm realizing that I've been going backwards. This is a new script today. So I'm going to call for a motion from the floor of the commission to open the public hearing for COA 2111. So do I have a motion to open?
Yes, I move
Public
that the commission, we open public hearings for COA 2111.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's passed. Thank you very much. I apologize for that. Bump in the road. Okay. Well, I don't have that.
We're having some technical difficulties trying to get this to display.
Oh, yeah, because I skipped that because she told me that there wasn't, but I will do that. I ask that all speakers interested in providing testimony on COA 2111 come to the front to sign in and to be sworn in. Okay, I'm sorry, the 2111, which is 110 West Hardin Street. It is Green and McClure Furniture. Thank you.
And when you ask for the swearing in, anyone who's previously been sworn in does not have to come back.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Okay.
We just want to advance.
And this is done to ensure that only facts or evidence pertaining to the items are presented to the commission. Opinion or hearsay testimony may not be entered as evidence and will not be permitted by myself, the chairman, so as not to violate the applicant's due process rights. At this time, I ask the staff to present their report.
Chairman, Commission, for COA 2111 for 110 West Hardin Street. The historic inventory information is that this is a building from circa 1946. It is contributing. It is a two-story flat roof brick building with stone facade. Second story has a 7-bay division and is faced with rough cut stone blocks. Centered over the second floor is a tablet with inscription Irwin, 1946. The first story is faced with smooth surface stone framing 2 recessed storefronts and the entrance to the second story at the east end of the facade. The storefronts have double doors with 4 pane transoms. A large centrally placed granite column supports the 2 light transoms that produce over the recessed storefronts. The applicant is requesting to remove the existing sign and awning, repaint the brick and metal trim, and add a new sign with the option of a flat or projecting sign for the location at 110 West Hardin Street,
Okay,
Green McClure Furniture.
thank you very much. And now we have, if the applicant again would say your name and where you live.
Griffin McClure, 622 Johnson Avenue. Mary, I don't know who I can address, but that was not the accurate description for 110 West Hardin. That's 116, 118, the Irwin building, the stone facade. We're talking about 110. It doesn't have windows. It's a brick building.
I have a description on 108 West Hardin.
Yes, 108. I'm sorry.
So brick structure originally erected as 2-story building with 1 story now in use. Upper portion of the facade is occupied by a sign, core built brickwork along the roof line, modern rework glass and plastic tile front.
Yep.
So, apologies.
So is it 108 is what we're talking about, or 110?
It is 108. It was,
Okay, so if you all will mark that so that when we do any motions, it's 108.
Yeah, it's incorrect on the application.
it is.
We can make that note here.
110, I think, was upstairs, so there was some confusion there.
Okay.
Okay, so 108, please,
I wondered
if
about
you
that. I was
commission
seeing it.
members
Didn't
will
know which
put
place
that in.
was right.
My
Okay, thank you for catching that.
No, I messed up the application. It is 108.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so I don't own that building, and that explains why I don't know the address very well. But the owner has agreed and signed off on this, the certificate of appropriateness. Basically, the awning, if we can go to the picture at some point, is tattered. It's blowing in the breeze. It's not waterproof much anymore. The facade, if the brick facade is peeling, I'm bouncing around, but basically you see the state of the building. I'd like take the awning down, fresh coat of paint, weatherproof it, and new sign. That's what we're asking it be deemed appropriate. I don't know the color, but we were fine working within the Sherwin-Williams historical color palette. We will not go back up with an awning unless we come back to you at some point, but that is not the plan. It's just to remove it and repaint the brick that you see and touch up the trim as you see it. The signage is included in the packet, but there is some concern. We originally applied for a projecting sign and then found out through some estimates and conversations that the brick facade at the top is peeling away from the building a little bit in a way that doesn't really lend itself to projecting a sign outward, and in fear that that might worsen that condition. So we are totally fine with a flat, I forget what the terminology is, but the flat face sign, just changing our logo. We're open to suggested colors. Honestly, that traffic is so close to that building and moving at such a pace, that sign's rarely seen. We're just trying to clean up the front of that building. We thought a projecting sign might catch the eye of folks a little bit better coming down that corridor, but they're only 15 feet from that door and would have to look immediately up to the second story. So
Okay.
just get rid of the awning and the fresh coat of paint and then put a flat sign. We're welcome to work with anybody. We just really want our new logo to be reflected.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of Griffin?
Griffin, Mr. McClure, the peeling of the facade, has the building owner said anything about that?
No, and to be very honest, I have not addressed that with him. That was done with I talked to him about doing what we were gonna do and
Right.
the sign up there, and then the sign guys came out and the guy that's doing some of the other work came out and said, I don't know if we'd do this. So it depends how, to the advice of this commission, what direction to proceed. I'm fine with just applying for the flat sign today and not involving him. I would prefer the projecting sign if that's deemed more historically appropriate. I think it probably would be in the guidelines, but that's kind of where we're at.
My concern was I know it's not in the application. As you said, the peeling of the facade, it's a 2-inch gap. It's not, the face of the building is fairly stout away from the building. And that is a concern for the stability, long-term health and stability of the building, an important piece of our fabric of our historic district. Just noting that, and you're pointing out that it is there.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll say as staff that typically with a building of this type, there's really 3 sign bands that already exist on this building. So ideally, a flat sign that would fill one of those sign bands or multiple sign bands would be considered the most historically appropriate. Right now, it's on the base between those 2 sign bands. But I would guess that at one point, this building was compartmentalized between 2 different businesses. And there was a sign on the left side and there was a sign on the right side. But there's also a like a channel of brick above that's kind of long and narrow that would serve for maybe a longer sign that's maybe not quite as high up and down. So it looks like there's a few options for a flat sign. I'm not sure that its current location is the most appropriate. But historically, that's the type of sign that you would see on this building.
Thank you. Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Griffin, Mr. McClure, if you were to move the sign to, well, actually, back up. Could you define a sign ban? Or if you were to move the sign to one of the smaller spaces, would you be amenable to that?
I think he finished with saying we could move it down, but keep it centered above the door. That would be my preference.
So to answer your question, a sign band is, you see those recessed areas in the brick?
Mhm.
That's a sign band. You see how visually it's set back in two different areas on either side of the existing sign. Those are sign bands.
My only preference would be to have it centered, and if I had my choice, to lower it.
And you actually have diagrams of appropriate signage locations in your handbook as well.
Any questions from Griffin, from the commission? Yes.
You had said you were gonna take the awning off, but you're not gonna put it back. Is that what you said? You know how long the awning's been there?
2001-ish,
Okay.
probably.
Okay.
We rent, that's the only part of our footprint that we rent. We've had a lease with that building since, I know it originated in '01, I think.
Okay.
So I assume Dad put it up around that time.
Any other questions from anyone for Griffin? Anyone have any questions? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. No further comment from the public will be heard. And the item will be discussed amongst the commission only. So is there any discussion between you all, commission? Anyone have any
Do you have
questions?
any previous structural pictures or knowing what it looked like prior to the awning? And
No, we don't.
is there any subject to pictures as opposed to what it may look like once the awning is down? Be in compliance with what in the historical structure.
I can answer that for you.
Okay, please answer that, staff.
So removal of an awning, awnings are typically, they're purposeful, not as an architectural detail usually, but more as a functional detail. In this case, it would be weather resistance over the door or shade over the building to provide energy efficiency. Awnings very rarely are part of an original building. They're something that change all the time, especially on commercial buildings. The only thing I would note, just looking at this building, is you can see this used to have arched windows on the top floor, so that's kind of an interesting thing. But you can tell where the paint has kind of worn away, where they bricked in the old arch windows. So it'd be cool if we could see an old picture of that and maybe get those restored someday. But you'll notice where the sign is hanging, there's actually an archway, which is why I don't know that the way the sign would be in that center is appropriate architecturally or historically. But you know, there's several rectangular and square areas where it might be more appropriate on the building.
Rectangular square areas have windowsill stone window sills at the bottom of them. I suspect those were originally windows.
So I'm talking the second floor.
On the second floor. Just like on
Yeah,
left and right.
There's a brick course underneath. You can tell where the windows used to be.
Right.
But there's
You're talking about
above that,
above that,
there's rectangular areas where a sign
above the
would
way
be
the
more
windows
appropriate
used to be, okay.
without compromising possibly the future architectural features. Sure. Yeah, so here is where you can see the original window opening. It's an arched window opening.
It's not
right
showing
here.
up on our screens.
I don't know if I can make it bigger, but we're gonna try. There we go. All right, so right here. Oh, I don't know why the mouse doesn't show up. Yeah, let's try pen and laser pointer tool. Let's go for it. All right. So let me go back. It's okay. So it's not gonna let me do both, but all right. So the point is, right here, you've got an arched window that got bricked in. Right here, you have a double arched window that was bricked in. You have a large double arch window here that was bricked in. Same thing here. This is the mirror image of the other side. But up here, these areas here would be the appropriate locations above that arch to hang the signage. Now you do have some lines at the top of the building that are also architectural features, but I would think the window openings would be more of a, what's the word? I would think that would be a more important architectural feature than the lines going across the top of the building. But that's what I meant when I said rectangular areas would be to avoid those archways where those windows are, if they ever want to restore the windows. Another option is if they ever went to replace the awning, putting signage on the awning would be a logical option as well.
So when the windows were bricked in, did it come before the commission to have that done, that work done?
I
Because-
doubt there was a commission when that happened.
No commission.
Oh. Okay, so I guess my question would have been, how long has it been since the windows were bricked in?
Things like this usually happen back in the 70s. That was when a lot of the metal siding went on buildings. They stuccoed over original brick features. 60s and 70s, you'd find a lot of neon. It was looking for that modern look, which back then was not what we consider today modern. So that's when a lot of this happened. But honestly, on commercial buildings, it's just part of the evolution of the building. Needs change. They might have gone up to storage up above. Originally somebody may have lived up above. It's hard to say. But hopefully if we get the inventory update, some of this information might come to light. And then we'll have better information to work with. We're just fortunate to be able to even see that because of the paint wearing away on the brick, so. Right. Correct.
I have one question.
Okay,
If we pull the awning, if the awning comes down,
yes.
or just a note, we're looking at the main body left side of Green and McClure. On the right-hand side, 114 is also connected to that same awning. And it will be exposed to
Okay,
the little recessed red brick area over there where the law office is.
okay. That would have been a good question for Griffin. But,
I forgot, sorry.
okay, is there any other comments or can I have a motion?
back to the sign and the windows, which I would love to see the windows put back, but if the sign is put up there flat, the sign can come down if someone ever decides to, okay, it's
Absolutely.
not going to damage.
That's the great thing
building
about
and be a
signage is it's not-
forever,
That's right.
okay.
And this could be another case where you have the applicant work with staff on the appropriate material and location for signage as well. We do have direction in the guidebook on that, so.
Okay, so could I have a motion?
I just had one more comment.
Okay,
on
I'm
that.
sorry. I didn't see you. Sorry. I
I,
apologize.
when I was listening to that, because I'm glad you showed me all the stuff with the bricks, because I didn't notice the windows or anything like that,
Right.
but I mean, is that something we even take into account, like where the sign has to go, since that's hiding that stuff? Like she said, it's not gonna do any damage if he keeps it in the middle
Right.
of the building, so I wouldn't even have noticed that unless we dug that deep into learning about bricked up windows from the 70s.
Right.
Thanks for the education.
You're welcome.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
As a reminder for the helpful guideline, if you could recall that this is 108 West Hardin
Right.
and not 110.
So I do have a question because it's a little newer than we've done before. So are we're having to do two motions?
That's correct. You do a finding of fact
Okay.
first, and then you'll do the.
We've
motion.
never done that before, so that's why we're all a little confused.
Yep.
Okay, so the commission, if you understand that, so first you do the finding of facts where you list from our guidebook, and then we'll do a second one where we approve or disapprove. So do I have a fact motion, please?
Yeah, hang on a second.
Okay,
I have thoroughly researched application of all the other documents related to COA 2111 and familiar with the property in question, and find that it produced accordance, finding of fact, and if found that it's produced of accordance with the plan submitted and proposed with compatible with the charter of the mid-19th century courthouse square district for I just lost it. Building exteriors.
okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? It passes. Thank you. Now, if we could have a motion to accept or deny, please.
I make a motion that we accept research application for documents related to COA 2111.
Ken,
21.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Talk a little closer to your mic.
I make a motion that we accept the application submitted for COA 2111. 108 West Hardin Street, Green and McClure Furniture. That the facts found have been acceptable, compatible with the character of the mid-19th century courthouse square historic district.
Okay, and can signage about saying that the staff will work with them on the signage? Just
And an
include,
addendum to the fact is that the staff will make a decision on the signage
That's fine.
Okay. All right, great. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It passes. Thank you very much. And so, okay, so we are going to take a 10-minute break before we go into the facade grant applications, please. A 10-minute break. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
We're trying today. to get-
You're doing an excellent job. Thank you, Chairman. It is. And if we could use the time that when we don't have applications to train, that would be excellent. And then everybody's not just staff.
Somebody who's been here.
Some fake applications, just submit them so we can get the practice with the verbiage and the process.
I don't want to take an office.
When we don't have applications,
I'm 76, I will. always
no, when we, I
be here
understand that, but
because
that's not contrary to when we don't have any applications before the board. If we could use that time
But you know you're
to
not.
do dummy applications
Don't
and
even
just
go
get the,
I'll deny stuff all day long.
the verbiage, you know,
Grant.
I
Nobody
think
knows.
we could use that time because
Well,
we're all a new committee, seems like, you know.
were you born here? That's what I'm
No,
telling you. That's how unimportant.
Yeah, I think
Now,
where my stuff.
now maybe when you were in high school, it was important.
It is not Bobby Chin's wife.
Well,
Grant was famous.
Is she Bobby Chin's wife?
Yes.
I don't see her.
I didn't get down to print out like.
Oh, I
all
have
these
your picture.
documents. I've got it, okay, I got it on my phone, so. I know. No, I can zoom in on it, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Shows that I do my homework.
I like it.
Yeah.
Related to
Incestuous.
bringing your
Yeah.
iPad.
But anyway, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, because Mary Fawcett, she's copies for me. Thank you, I found mine.
I like it, I like it.
I
on my
did find
iPad or my phone and stuff, so I don't like it much.
Chairman, I'm sorry to keep up with you.
No, you're not. It's all hard for us too. And yeah.
I mean, this is the first.
Right. Exactly. And unfortunately tonight was brand new in what we were supposed to be doing. And I didn't have, I mean, I had a meeting with them, but they didn't mention that to me and I didn't catch it until he said something to Jerome about what he was supposed to be doing. And then I was like, okay, so now there's a new thing that I didn't even know. So we're all learning as we go, and it is, and this is the hardest part, is the motions. I will tell you that
But you know what?
because I still have a problem.
When I first got here,
Yeah, babe.
when I first got here, I was so interested.
I found my motion.
And then when I kind of did some cursory look around.
What is the sheet? Here, I have mine for the, yes, ma'am.
That's right.
Okay.
matrix. I did,
Yeah.
I do.
I've got them all right here.
Mine.
You
Stephanie
need a
printed out.
copy?
It's mainly who got the funds and the intrusive fill contributing.
Yeah, she's gonna go over the questions that we may not know the answers to.
So
And
there's,
do we need to do separate ones for 2108 and 2109?
That is up to you.
Mainly because they were both kind of right
You
next
will
door.
award the funding differently. You won't.
That's what I figured.
I need,
Yeah, I got that.
I don't know why mine didn't print out.
So you don't have to feel like you gotta start scoring right now. You'll have time. How many do you have? You need to have 5.
I have 4. This is how you grade them. This is a grid on grading.
You got that.
Mhm.
You need this.
And if I could, I'd just like to apologize to the commission. We're kind of fumbling through this because we're all a little bit new here, but we'll get it better for next time, so.
It's all a learning experience.
Yes, it is.
I think I'll make it pretty fast.
Told my husband I was just gonna start going to the library.
So that was because of COVID. So that we had to have 6 feet away from people. And that now we're back into order, and I'm not quite sure why let's see. Usually it was whoever was here, whoever was the oldest sat beside me, but that's not how they did it. I don't know how they do it, how they're doing it. Used to be me, and then the people
Should
that
be Karen next door. next
were
to
here
you.
longest were here, and then that went out to the
Wondered
end
about
of the
that
end
too.
ones were the people that were the newest. Wide. And well, that might be why they have.
Question. I had trouble
Because
finding stuff too, and that just
actually-
explains why.
Nobody on here has been on here a year yet. I'm the
Oh.
only one that's been a year. And then Chin, thank you, all came on last
That's
summer,
cool.
so you're almost not quite a year, but you're close to a year maybe.
We could have given them not with that 5.
Maybe 5 months or something. But anyway, everybody except for me. So, all right, is everyone ready? We will reconvene the meeting. Before us this evening are 5 applications for the CO1. Okay, we'll reconvene the meeting. Before us this evening are 5 applications for the 2021-22 facade grant funding. Before getting started, I would like to go over a few items with the commission. May I ask each of you to look at the PowerPoint presentation on the screen before you. First presented before you are the scoring matrix. I realize that each of us was asked to complete the scoring matrix prior to the meeting. However, there are 2 criteria questions in which clarification is needed by staff. Who needs scoring Okay, we've done all that. Mary, will you please provide answers for the 2 criteria on the matrix for each of the commission members at this time?
I will, and let's just take our time and go through each one so that you can keep your papers in order. So at the top of your scoring matrix, for number 1, if you will write minor COA 2108,
Done.
205 North Main Street. And the applicant is Kirk McVeigh. Chairman, would you like for me to go ahead and label the other 4? Or let's go through and score this one and then we'll proceed with the other 4.
Let's go ahead. So I do have a question about that. So are we combining A and B or no? Because it seemed like it was all in one.
The applicant submitted both on the one application. So lesson learned moving forward, I will ask them to separate that out
Okay,
because there's an opportunity for allocations of 2 awards of money. So you can view it as one, you can view them separately. I just felt like it was easier to
Okay.
keep them
All right.
separate.
that was just my
But
question.
direct me
Okay.
how you would like it in the future.
So, yes, so we'll look at that in the next go around. So let's go ahead and just talk about the scoring on each individually. And so I'm kind of doing it as the Arts Council does grants, so I don't know if this is correct, but we want to look at each one of them individually and not compare them to each other, if that makes sense. So what I would say is if we could evaluate them and with the scoring, and then if we could just in agreement, not vote on, just in agreement, give amount of monies that we would want to give this individual. And we will go through the process. At the end, we will find out whether we have, how much monies we are from the amount that we are giving out. And then we can discuss if we want to change anything to make it come out. Will that work for everyone?
Okay, and just to clarify, what I
Uh-huh.
heard you say is to move through each applicant through the process and then go to the next one.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
And can we, because I don't know if it was said, but we have $15,000 to give out. So
That was my question.
that is the amount of money that we are going to grant out tonight, or can grant out tonight. We
So
don't
let
have
me
to
just
grant out.
clarify, that is the total amount. However, per applicant, they can only be awarded up to 50% of what the total cost of the project is. And then the ceiling being 5,000.
5,000.
So it would take a total estimated projected construction cost of $10,000 for an applicant to receive 5,000.
Right.
In your packet, I did provide you with the spreadsheet that shows this information.
Does everybody understand that? So it's only 50% of what they're requesting that we can grant out to them, up to 50%. We can only grant up to 50% of what they're asking. And we have 15,000 to grant out.
So I apologize. It wasn't in your packet. It was a hyperlink within your agenda. So you would have had to have printed that separately. So, all right. As we go through, and I can read that out to you because I have my master in front of me.
Okay.
Hey,
So let's take our best shot at it. So for 205 North Main Street, which is a minor, which means that it's at the staff level for criteria 1, which reads, if required, has the project received approval for a COA? The answer is yes. Then if you could score for criteria 2, level of rehabilitation. Now, the only challenge with doing this is you have not heard the project. That's what we were talking about prior to the meeting today.
So are you wanting to go through each of these or just give a total score for everything?
Repeat your question? Right.
Right, are you wanting to go through each of the questions, or do we just want to go through the total score since they went through the questions? Because we have a total score that we had to write down.
I think that was a mistake on my part of asking the commission to score it prior to coming. Not realizing that some commission members may not have had the opportunity to print the packet.
Okay,
Maybe they didn't have a device where they were able to see the agenda and receive all the feedback
Okay.
that they needed.
all right.
So how would you like to proceed?
Go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead as you were doing.
We need to present the project. Okay, so to present the project on a facade grant, the application has been presented in front of you. So for this one, for 205 North Main Street, the request is to remove the existing awning and replace it following the guideline colors, which is a burgundy. I brought our Sunbrella awning approved colors if any of the commission members wanted to see that. So what you see in their application, where the estimated total, that is for both locations. If you pull out and just look at this location, the projected cost with the lowest quote is $2,201.60. So if you were to award up to the highest possible amount, it would be $1,180.
Okay,
Do any commission members have any questions? When we're looking at a facade grant, they are asked to provide 2 quotes, which the applicant did. Then whenever they submit that total, it is affiliated with the lowest quote. Procedurally, is there any other questions?
And they do intend to put the awning back the burgundy color.
that's correct.
And the applicant is in the audience if you would like the applicant to come forward and ask them any specific questions. Yes, Jerome?
Are we or are we not in quasi-judicial?
We are not.
Thank you.
Not for the grant.
Okay, so no questions. Could we move forward on the next?
Okay, so now if we go back to what we were trying to do, just to keep our thoughts fresh and compartmentalized per applicant, we'll go back to the matrix now. Some commission members may have already completed this, others may not. Anyone who has not completed their matrix, if you will answer to score the level of rehabilitation, whether you view that scoring between a 0 to a 5. Are all commission members ready for me to move on to criteria number
Yes.
3? Okay,
Jerome, you look confused.
we're good?
No.
Okay, all right, so criteria number 3, has the applicant previously received facade grant funds? They have not. They are a first-time applicant, therefore the score is 5. If the commission could please answer aesthetic improvements, scoring 0 through 5. Upon completion, look my way so I can go on to the next one. Jeanette, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
For criteria number 5, project visibility, if the commission will now score between 0 to 5. Mrs. Chen, are you ready for the next one? Okay. For number 6, potential community impact, if the commission will please score between 0 to 5. Is more time needed? Are we good on that criteria?
Yes, good.
Mrs. Baldwin, would you like some more time for that criteria? Did you have a question? You're good? Okay. Number 7, the historic destination for this one is a feel. It gets a score of 2. The final criteria, has the applicant been awarded funds in the past and completed the proposed work? That receives a 5. The applicant has not previously been awarded the funds. So now if you will total those scores and pass it to Chairman Worthy. And then if you can just stack all those to represent the minor COA of 2108.
Put it on here too.
Before you pass it in, you do want to put your score.
Challenge sheet.
So I put all mine in one. You can have mine. They're AB
Here's 2 more.
top.
You want us to write them on this sheet also? Or is that for total?
Hey, did we put our names on these too?
Very mine are all
I
on
don't
one
think I
sheet.
put my name on mine.
If you only have one score matrix and you keep tallying on the same one, we will clip that at the end. All right, any questions before we move forward? All right, so now part 2, minor COA 2109, same owner, Mr. Kurt McVeigh.
So before you move on to that, could we just ask them to agree on a certain amount of money?
How do you do
So
that?
the way that the
Because-
matrix was set up was then to take the scores and prioritize who was going to be discussed first with the amount of money. So I was just,
Okay.
I was just following,
I'm doing it a different way. Okay, great.
okay.
Go for it.
So 207 North Main Street is the law office of Mr. Nelson. The applicant is requesting the replacement of the awning at this location. The approved color is a forest green. The project cost of the lowest quote is $1,812.78. The potential award at 100% of the allotted amount would be $906.39. If you will, return back to your scoring matrix. When you're looking at criteria number 1, that will be a yes. Then answer criteria number 2. Move into criteria number 3, that will be a 5. If the commission will answer the aesthetic improvement, scoring at 0 to 5. As well as the project visibility. Continuing to page 2, the potential community impact. The historic designation is a contributing, that's a 4. And then the final is a 5.
No, let's go back.
Same as before, if you will write your name on the scoring matrix, total, put your total on your score sheet for B.
So. Melody, just change the one she's telling you for sure, because I guesstimated. So like when she's doing the. Do, we can change them.
You guys are doing great. We're on number 3, which is a major COA, which occurred this evening, 2110 at 118 North Main Street, the location of Green and McClure Furniture, with the applicant being Mr. Griffin McClure.
We only got 2 on this side, so somebody over here, we didn't get theirs. Did we get,
And he passed it.
did we get yours?
No, we don't do mine.
He's keeping his until the end. 'cause he's not-
Okay, that's right.
That's just for records, Councilman Wiggins, the score sheet or what I'll use to enter in the data. Yeah. So as you guys heard with this major COA 2110, there is extensive work with removing the existing aluminum facade and then continuing to work behind that, which will then present different projects. So the vastness of this project, the lowest cost quote is $29,500. The potential award at 100% of the allotted amount is $5,000.
I did have one question about this one.
Sure.
I know that they have to submit 2 quotes. This is kind of a, I'm just new at this, so bear with me. They presented a quote for the signage, 1 quote for signage, and 1 quote for, doing the demo work and the masonry type work. To me, that's just one.
Correct.
That's just one estimate. That's not 2 estimates.
So there's
Because he
one,
combined those,
there's one estimate for the construction cost.
right?
So if the commission is bringing forward, if this is going to be eligible, because a second quote is not presented, that is within your purview. You can also look at it a different way, is that since there wasn't a second quote provided, it may be to a disadvantage of the applicant that he received a higher quote from this contractor than maybe he would have received from another contractor. So what is the desire of the commission on how to proceed with accepting what's been presented?
Can he be awarded more than one facade? Is it just one applicant per business?
The location.
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 Mhm,
Mhm,
Okay, and he's doing it for 2 separate locations?
correct.
that's correct.
Just like
So-
Mr. McVeigh has 2 separate locations.
But he just didn't submit 2 applications.
He didn't submit 2 quotes
Quotes.
for the construction.
Right. okay,
And
yeah.
the reason why we asked for 2 quotes is because when providing the funding, we're looking towards the lowest submitted quote. However, I think that you guys would all agree that this vastness of this project is either going to exceed what was presented in the quote that we received. Therefore, the eligibility of receiving up to 100% of the 5,000 will still be relative.
Yeah, I understand that. I was just thinking in terms of our paperwork being right. you know.
Right.
I don't want somebody to come back later and say, well, you didn't make him submit 2 requests. So I'm kind of a stickler for paperwork. So,
And the applicant is present if the commission wants to ask the applicant any questions.
I guess we need to clarify this so that we can move forward. Yes, Griffin, go ahead.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
In the requirements on the 2022 facade grant program application, the box that I checked is that at least 2 itemized project cost estimates are attached. It doesn't specify that they need to be competing estimates.
Okay.
There was a sign estimate and a facade estimate. I'll be happy to get competing quotes. That just wasn't how I read it.
Okay. Thank you, Griffin.
I would also add that the likelihood that it's gonna be under $10,000 is very slim. And so it's probably not gonna change the maximum
Right.
award amount.
So is the commission okay with having 1 estimate?
Yes.
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 Okay, then we will move forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Mrs. Witter. Okay, so for COA 2110, 118 North Main Street, the first answer is yes. If the commission will answer the level of rehabilitation. And then for number 3, has the applicant previously received a facade grant funds? You score there 5. This is a first-time applicant. And if I miss something, please correct me. And then if the commission will answer the aesthetic improvement, the project visibility, and the potential community impact. The historic designation is a 2, is a feel. And just so that you understand that, it's because of the historic reference of having to change the facade over time. And then has the applicant been awarded funds in the past and completed the proposed work? That would be a 5.
With the historic destination.
A 2.
2.
If Councilman Wiggins
I'll
will
figure it out.
approach to collect those documents.
He had mine.
Okay. COA 2110 was heard earlier. There was a correction in the address. It is 108 West Hardin Street. It is part of the business of Green and McClure Furniture. The applicant is requesting to remove the existing sign and awning, repaint the brick and metal trim, and then the signage was pushed to a later date. The amount of work is at $12,300 with the potential award at 100% of the allotted amount to be at $5,000.
I just have the same objection to this one, that it's just one appraisal or one, I just
I
wanted to go on
will-
the record as saying that.
Sure, so I will confirm what Mr. McClure stated. and this may be something that we discussed in my staff update. It reads on the facade grant application form, at least 2 itemized project cost estimates are attached. So he is correct that it did not say competing or comparable.
So just so we can clarify everything, is all the commission okay with having one estimate
For this project?
for
Yes.
this project?
Yes.
Okay, so we can move forward. Thank you.
Stand by just a second, another technical difficulty. Okay, so we're on the scoring matrix for COA 2111-108 West Hardin Street. If you have that before you, I will walk you through it. Number 1, COA was heard tonight and approved. If you could answer number 2, level of rehabilitation. Number 3 is, that is a 5, they're a first-time applicant. And then if you could answer aesthetic improvements, project visibility, potential community impact. The historic designation is, I probably got this wrong because I looked at the wrong address. If I could request permission to look it up. There's this, let me see your handbook. It is identified as field. It'll be scored a 2. And then the final is a 5. Thank you for your patience.
Okay.
Councilman Wiggins will approach to retrieve those documents. Put it on.
What's the COA for this one?
If you will, look in your packets. I apologize. This was an oversight on my part for the PowerPoint presentation. The next applicant of Mr. Paul Krotz, minor COA 2112, 30 Southwest Square, Court Square. I failed to include it in the PowerPoint presentation. It is in your packet. The applicant is requesting at their location. There's the pictures in your packet. Graham Furniture Mart, similar to Green and McClure Furniture, touches 2 areas in downtown. So this is on Court Square's entrance. And the request is to install new awning and repair the facade, paint the signage where the paint is chipping. For this one,
I do have a question on that.
okay,
On the awning, is it a replacement of that awning that's already there? Because if it isn't, why didn't it come for a COA?
So if you're, my understanding is if you're replacing an already existing awning, that's a minor.
Right, is,
So that was approved, a minor COA was
Right,
submitted
okay.
and approved at the staff
yes,
level.
I'm just asking, thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. With the construction at the building that's at a right angle to that entrance there, can this awning be installed currently?
The question was raised, the applicant requested to move forward with the submittal of the facade grant application. So the projected cost of the construction work is $5,637.20. The potential award at 100% of the allotted amount would be $2,818.60. As we move through the scoring matrix, this individual has received funds previously. Well, first, the answer to the COA is yes. You answer the level of rehab. And then for has the applicant previously received facade grant funds, that would be a 2. And then if you will score aesthetic improvements, project visibility, potential community impact. And then the historic designation is a 2. And then for the final one, that would be a 4. So if you will, provide Chairman Worthing with those documents, let Councilwoman Wiggins pick those up and then pass in your scoring sheets.
Go ahead and keep that one, the top one. Yeah.
As the scoring sheets are received,
Pass these down, or-
I just,
with your,
Okay.
with your name on them for the scoring sheet. Once the scoring sheet
Okay.
arrives to Secretary Debbie Jolly, we will go from each commission member calling out their scores per applicant. And then, as I mentioned previously,
Middle 2 down. Sorry.
entering this information will then direct you on which COA to address first to award. So this is just good practice. Typically, not more recently, when we've had applications, the amount that you could award exceeded the $15,000. Tonight, we're fortunate that we're just under 15,000. So if in your purview to award everybody at 100%, that is available. All right, so for the record,
And I would just add that any money left over could potentially be awarded at the next meeting if we happen to get an additional application.
That's fine. You tell me which commission member you're starting with. Okay, our first entry is Commission Member Jeanette Beaudry for COA 2108. The score is for COA 2109. Oh, and I guess I should say the numbers. 26 was the first score, 28 was the second one. For COA 2110, 24, for COA 2111, for COA 2112. Okay. Who's our next commission member? For Ms. Zipporah Baldwin, for COA 2108, 28, for COA 2109, for COA 2110, 28, for COA 2111, 28, for COA 2112, 21. Okay, which commission member is next? For Mr. Jerome Bias. For COA 2108, 26, for COA 2109, 30, for COA 2110, 32, for COA 2111, 28, for COA 2112, 19. Next commission member is going to be Chairman Worthy, COA 2108, 23, for COA 2109, 21, for COA 2110, 34, for COA 2111, 27, and for COA 2112, 18. Okay. Next, commission member. Okay, for Mr. Haley, COA 2108, 25, for COA 2109, 27, for COA 2110, 29, for COA 2111, 25, and for COA 2112, 21. And then who we have next? Commission member Mrs. Whitaker, for COA 2108, 24, for COA 2109, 25, for COA 2110, 29, for COA 2111, 29, and for COA 2112, 17. And for Commission Member Chin, COA 2108, 24, for COA 2109, 28, for COA 2110, 28, for COA 2111, 31, and for COA 2112, 24. Okay. So the way that the calculations work is that the highest score will be heard first. So we have COA 2111. Excuse me, correction, COA 2110. Then COA 2111. Then COA 2109. And then COA 2108. And COA 2112. So thank you for your patience and for participating in that matrix. We found that it made it easier for the commission of using the matrix. I know it's a little time consuming, but thank you guys. So before you are the identified COAs and their amounts. If we start with COA 2110, I'll hand it over to Chairman Worthy. You see the estimated projected lowest construction costs, and then how the opportunity presents itself at a 25%, a 50%, a 75%, and 100% award allotment.
Okay, so I do have a question in the process. Are we voting on each individually? Is that what we're doing?
So you're going to agree upon an amount
Right.
for each one. And then if you want to vote per individual, you can, or it's suggested maybe to wait to the end
And do
and
it all?
group them all together.
Okay, that's my question. All right, thank you. All right, so we are at COA 210, 2110, sorry. And so do I have a suggestion of the amount that you would like to give for this?
I suggest we give him the total amount.
Okay, I have total amount. Does anyone have anything different than that? All right, $5,000 for COA 2110. COA 2111. Do I have a suggestion of how much to give? Anyone?
The total amount.
Okay, we have total amount, which is $5,000. Do I have any other suggestions? We will do $5,000 for COA 2111. Okay, then it's COA 2109. We can give $906.39 is the total that we could give. Does anyone have any suggestions of what you want to give for that one?
Total amount.
So I have a total amount of $906.39. Is there any other suggestions? Then we'll go with $906.39. COA 2108. We have the total amount of 1100.8. Is there, you can do anything in between that? Is there any suggestions? Total amount, okay, is 1,180 cents for COA 2108. COA 2112, they can get a total amount of 2,818.60. What do y'all want to give? Amount. So we will have 2,818.60 is what we will give 208.2112. All right, so we have that. Does anyone want to make a motion to accept these amounts that we have just said?
I'll make a motion that we accept the amounts for the facade grants.
Okay,
I'll
Yeah.
second that.
and we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, it passes. Thank you very much for all your work on that.
Felt good.
Giving away money does feel good.
Yeah, for the first time.
Yes. That's good stuff.
All right, so we will now hear city council updates from Councilwoman Wiggins.
Chairman Worthy, can I ask a quick question?
Okay, I'm sorry, yes?
I mean, I know it's only like $160 left over, but
Yes.
do we advertise that how does that work? Like,
Good question.
I'm sorry, I was trying to prepare for my staff updates. Can you repeat the question?
no, I was saying, it's not a lot of money left over, but it's like $160, I guess, that we weren't able to award. What happens with that money?
If I could receive direction from the commission to advertise and see if we can receive any additional applications. It's just being mindful of the construction work.
Right. But that's fine, since if we don't spend it, it goes back to the city, so we might as well advertise it and see if we can spend it. Seems-
Yeah. Are there any parameters of when the deadline would be to accept, or can that be of the purview of the staff?
That I will, let's set that for the staff to determine.
Thank you.
Okay, now, city council,
Oh, sorry.
councilwoman.
To
Oh,
follow Robert's Rules of Order, that was some discussion, but if we can have that submitted as a motion.
Okay, we can do that. So is there a motion from the floor for that?
I make a motion that the staff of the city of Graham advertise the remaining funds for the facade grants.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, it passes. Thank you very much. Anything else before we move on? Okay, Councilwoman Weekus, you're up.
Have one thing, but before I do that, I do want to say, one, kudos to you all for here tonight. Been very active. You've had a very difficult evening, a lot on your plate tonight. You're experiencing, guys, it's not just many of you, who are in, staff, in place. Thank you for the patience. And for all that you do. One thing I will report to you is that the city of Graham has offered a conditional or has made a conditional offer for a there is an offer that has come in. And,
Right.
We feel that it's not public. So we're for the next.
Right.
I can give you that information that is.
Okay, thank you.
I want to echo my gratitude to you guys for being here, fulfilling your role in your volunteer realm. Thank you for having grace as I have training wheels on. We'll work through this together. Just some procedural conversation about the agenda. This is the time that we do the facade grants. We do have a little bit of meat left on the bone, so we may have another opportunity where we'll hear a facade grant application, or we may not. However, typically annually, it will be during the month of October. COAs can come up throughout the year. That's whenever that's all pertinent to whether it's a minor or a major. I strongly encourage you to get familiar with your guidelines book. We have noticed that there's some materials that are in different locations, so we're going to try to tidy that up so that you'll have a complete handbook. It may be that I'll send it to you. I'm sure that it will be that I'll send it to you in a link, and then I'll reference if you would like for me to print this to let me know. Moving forward for meetings, if you not have that capability, let me know, and I will print those materials for you. It is ideal that you can review the applications before you come to the meeting. So I just need to get my timeline lead time a little bit further away from the meeting than printing them the day of. So that's something that I'll work on. All right, looking at the agenda, would you guys like to continue to move forward with the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence, or would you like to dive into the work of the meeting? Is there a feeling of a consensus one way or the other? Option A would be continue to move at the opening of the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, or B, we would strike that or do a hybrid of one or the other, or we could just move into business. What is the pleasure of the commission?
I personally would like to just move into the business, but that's just me.
Is that a consensus of the commission?
I have no preference.
I have no preference.
Okay. That is just a functionality of the process of the meeting. Everything that we researched, we didn't need that to be an item to get a motion. So it's just procedural. So thank you. I want,
We're removing the Pledge of Allegiance, is that what you're saying?
that is presented before you. The commission is going to direct me. So if what I have heard is there have been some commission members who have said, yes, let's jump right on into business and move forward. If there's other commission members who would like to voice another opinion, please feel free to do so.
I don't think it takes that long to pay a little respect to our flag and our country, but, so I disagree respectfully.
Okay.
So Carrie, could you poll the commission just so
Yes.
that we can take it to a vote?
Right, so are we just talking about, are we talking about both having word of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance, or just the Pledge of Allegiance? Let's start from there.
For me, it would just be the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. So let's just poll everybody so we can get a consensus. Or let's say, do you want to just do Pledge of Allegiance? Put your hand up, yes or no? Yes or no? Okay, so we'll do Pledge of Allegiance and no
Moment of silence.
moment of silence.
Okay, thank you. Not to feel like you guys are drinking from a fire hydrant, but Justin comes with a wealth of knowledge, as you have gleaned from him during our meeting this evening. So he has some great resource links that he has provided for me to then pass along to each of you. So I will start to share those with you without dumping on you. Obviously, it's up to you whether you explore them further, but it's strongly encouraged to. Would you like to say anything further about it?
Yeah, so it's a lot of quasi-judicial, bleh, I always have a hard time saying that, quasi-judicial content that's produced by the School of Government. But in addition, there's resources from the State Historic Preservation Office that are really useful, especially in learning what your charge and abilities are as a commission. And then specifically, there's a document called the Letter to George. It's written in lay terms. It's actually a good read. It's an interesting read, but it gives good insight into a citizen's role on a quasi-judicial board. And it just gives a different perspective, one that I think you'll be able to identify with as you kind of navigate your way through what it means to be on a quasi-judicial board. So the standards are set pretty much in stone for quasi-judicial boards, which is why we've got these extra procedures, the findings of fact, all that is required, the testimony, the cross-examination. In essence, you're acting as a court. You're making objective decisions about subjective items. So it's a difficult charge that you have as a commission to be able to determine congruity. What is congruity? What does that mean? And that's why you have those design standards, is to help guide you in determining what is and is not congruous with the special character of your historic district. So as we get through it, if you guys get through anything, you still have questions, you're welcome to ask. Education is a charge of staff and the commission. It is not a quasi-judicial process to educate. So if you have procedural questions, ask them. We will answer them for you. We just cannot answer any sort of ex parte communication where we talk about specific applications and start to get into, is this good? Is this bad? Is this congruous? Is it not? We cannot discuss that. But if you need more information, as you're getting into things, you're welcome to ask for more information. We can share that with the entire commission. If you've got questions procedurally, if you don't understand something, those are all questions to ask for staff. We are happy to answer them for you. If we can't answer them, we'll tell you that the meeting is the appropriate place to ask it. So, yeah.
There was minor discussion, but it would be really cool if we could do a dry run of a quasi-judicial experience with a dummy case. So we can sit here and practice making our proposals, and then go, yeah, that's the way to do it. No, that's not the way to do it. So when we come back and do it for real, because all of us are new, well, most of us, many of us are new, and it was
So the way you did it tonight actually is a really good introduction to how to do it. Citizens are not going to complain that you are trying to work yourself into doing your job as a commission. So if they see you struggling, that just means you're trying. So don't be embarrassed by making a hiccup here and there. That's why we're here, is to help guide you. That's why the chairman's here, to help guide you. It's okay to stutter through things. So, if you're struggling with emotion or what the wording might be, we're happy to, kind of get you to the final point.
unlike tonight, you really didn't get a lot of guidance in what the two parts were, what that meant. That's on us. What you will receive in the future are what we've done in the past is write those things out. So you got recommended things, whether you approve, you deny, table, you got that information, but what will be given to you in the future is that fact of finding language. So you'll have it. You'll know that you're going to do two. First, you're going to do a fact of finding. It's going to look like this, and it's going to walk you right through it. The second things are going to be, again, do we approve, do we deny, do we table? All that's going to be better for you on the next go around, and it should be easy. But anytime you get stuck, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you, to guide you through the proper wording, to get the correct information that we need. That's what staff is here to do, and help you get through that process. So I'm just going to say you did a beautiful job with what you had tonight, and you're going to be able to see, I've said this before, but many of you are new. If you get stuck and have a question, you heard Justin say, I can help you with that. You just need to invite the staff into the conversation. Okay, you're in quasi-judicial hearing. So you need to invite the staff into, when you have a question, don't sit out there and wonder forever. Ask the question. Okay, you go straight to the source, and he can then, in this meeting, while you're in quasi-judicial, he can answer your questions. Okay, great.
And as you're preparing our packets, and we have the little small sections. For those of us who print it out, can you put page numbers on there?
Yes.
That'd be really.
Yes, anything that's going to be helpful to you guys, we're open to suggestions.
And you guys were really helpful tonight. I really appreciated that.
Did you have any other comments? I had one more.
Mm-mm.
So those of you guys who do not know me, I am the Downtown Development Coordinator, Mary Fawcett, I guess I should have said that earlier, with the City of Graham. With bringing Justin on board as our plan director, then we have a planner one, Cameron West, who was referenced tonight, but who is not here. And then we are teamed together where I am overseeing the HRC board, Cameron's overseeing the Appearance Commission, and then Justin has other planning roles and responsibilities. But we're all working behind the scenes, helping one another. So a upcoming date that I'd like to invite you to participate, that's relative to my role as Downtown Development Coordinator. We are a Main Street, we're in the Main Street Prerequisite Program. It's a Downtown Associate Community Program, or it goes by the acronym DAC. The visioning meeting for the community will take place on Thursday, October 21st at 6 p.m. And that will take place at the Graham Mill. I will send this to you in an email, but I wanted to tell you tonight in person. I think Nathan maybe had mentioned at your last meeting in August that I would come before you and make a presentation, but with the breadth and depth of our agenda, I felt like this is the way that I could give you the little nugget that's needed and follow up with an email. Does anyone have any follow-up questions about that program or the date? Okay, that's all I had.
What was the acronym DAC?
DAC, it's the Downtown Associate Community DAC program. Okay, I would like to return the mic back to Councilwoman Wiggins.
Yeah, since you're all new, let me be sure that you all understand. You're going to be emailed numerous times as a group. As a group, I need you not to respond.
Right.
Okay. If you respond to Mary or Justin, please do so individually and not reply all. Okay. That's great. We just want to hang in there with your rules. Okay.
Chairman Worthy, if you will poll the commission and see if any members have any other comments.
I will do that. Jerome, do you have any final comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
There's the historical district review. No, I'm calling it the wrong name. The survey that was
Yes.
consultant was doing. Is
We
that-
should have asked for an update. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, sir.
At
Yep.
this time, we have nothing to update.
Okay.
Are we,
When
s-
we receive any updates, I will present that before you.
I was gonna say, we were supposed to have something brought to us like this month.
So that may have fallen through the cracks with our transition of staff. Justin, if you want to add any additional comments.
I don't even know who the consultant is, so I have to do some research on that.
The reason why I was
Um,
pressing is they said there was a deadline that we were supposed to make with the SHPO office, so that's why I was concerned about it.
So I'm trying to think of what deadline the SHPO would have, because we are not a CLG. So I don't know, and we didn't receive CLG funding through SHPO for that project. So I'll look into it and I'll find out. That might be one of those emails not to respond to in mass that I send to you, but I'll try to figure out some information on it.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
we are trying to become a member. And I think maybe that's part of what all of that was, but I'm not.
That is the first step to becoming a CLG. And then looking at establishing a whole district. And then I think there's some other criteria we have to meet, but
Right.
I have a good working relationship with the State Historic Preservation Office, so I'm confident that we can work it out. If we
Great.
can get the big prerequisites out of the way.
Right, great, thank you. Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions or comments?
I have one about this. This is the last copy I got. Is this the copy or is there another newer? I dug this out from, I think, before when I was on the commission, when I was starting to try to
Is that your handbook?
look at, yeah.
Yeah, the one I've got, which by date on my files that I could find, that was the most recent, was April 2018.
Right.
on it.
Okay, I need a new one.
Okay.
If I could get somebody to print me one. Because I couldn't find a lot of stuff y'all kept talking about.
Did you get the notebook I gave you? Because I thought I had that in the notebook.
No, I didn't
Does
get,
it say? the
I
note-
didn't get a notebook.
It's 2018.
Okay, I didn't get a
Okay.
notebook.
All right, well, we will get you a
I
notebook.
just
We'll
came
get
on
you a
in
notebook.
July and then we didn't have 2 meetings.
Okay,
Anyway, so
somehow.
no, I didn't
Okay.
get one.
I'd just like to thank Mary. You really put together your emails, and the tone of your emails are spot on. The way you laid things out to click here, go here, print wherever. Please keep doing that. Thank you very much.
Yes, and I also like to thank Mary for your extended help. You've been very helpful to me and very quick to respond. And I have to get your check back. So, but as soon as I put it out there, you bring it back.
Absolutely. I hear the gratitude. I appreciate that. We're a team. So it's not all me. And you heard Justin say numerous times, we're here to help. Just ask. And if we can't provide the information, we'll tell you that it needs to take place in the meeting. Thank you though for your gratitude.
Bonnie, do you?
I just want to extend my gratitude to you, all you guys, for putting up with our newness and being so willing to answer our questions. And I was wondering too, if we could get a clarification on that application process for the facade grant program in the future. Because I think we all know that when we say 2 itemized cost estimates, we're asking for
Yeah,
complete, battling.
so
know,
if the commission directs it, we're happy to change that, tweak that to say competing estimates.
Yeah, because
or-
I mean,
or
it could
something.
matter in the case of, in this case, it did not because of the extent of the work, and I get that, but it could make a difference in the future if somebody just hands us one,
Absolutely.
and it's $5,000, it could make a difference,
Yeah, we have noticed some inconsistencies in a few of the forms, and that's on our list of things to look at. But if you're willing, we'll go ahead and make that.
Do it.
Yes, please.
But again, thank you so much for your patience and all your knowledge that you imparted on us tonight.
So I too want to thank the staff, but I also want to thank the commission members for all that you've done tonight. Because even though most of you are new, I'm probably the one that's been here the longest and is still new to me. So, so we're all learning together. So I appreciate all that, and we'll continue to move forward. I will say for the matrix, if I could meet with you and do some changes on the matrix, I think there needs to be some changes to make that run a little smoother. And I don't have anything else. So if there's nothing else, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion, a second.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much.